the car driving in a mountainous country out in the Carolinas somewhere, and he's headed up this long, winding, two-way road up this big old mountain, and he's doing it just as fast as he can go. He's in a hurry, and all of a sudden he comes around the corner, and there's an old panel truck in the road right in front of him, doing about 30 miles an hour. He throws on his brakes, stops just in time, and starts following his panel truck. Tries to pass him, came. Tries to pass him, came. All of a sudden, his panel truck stops. The driver gets out of the panel truck with the mop panel, beats on the side of the panel truck, jumps back in the truck, starts driving again, 30 miles an hour. This guy just sitting there behind him, never going to be around this guy. Guy goes 5 more miles, jumps out of the panel truck, beats on the side of it, jumps back in, takes off again, 15 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. And this guy's so frustrated. Finally, the third time, this guy stops the panel truck, starts beating on the side of it. This old boy gets out of his car and he goes up to the panel truck driver and says, "Mister, you stop every 5 miles beating on the side of that panel truck, what in the world are you doing?" The old panel truck driver said, "Wait, see, I'm pulling this hill in a 1-ton truck, and in the back of it I got 2 tons of canaries, and I got to keep half of them flying all the time." That's what our lives like. We're out there having to keep having birds flying all the time. We never get caught up, do we? And so today, one of the things I wanted to do is, as we look at the world we're living in, as we look at all the pressures and the things pushing on us from all sides, and my beloved truckers, I know you live there. And I know the worries never cease. I want to give you another worry today. We're going to repeat something we've done in the past, but we're going to do it kind of quick today because we don't have much time. If I was a Methodist, I'll quit when I'm through, kids. You're safe, all right? Stand up here, Richard. It's not Richard. It's Brian. I'm sorry. One of my drivers. Stand right here. This is my old timer right here. My moss back, okay? The oldest, you're going to be the old guy, all right? This is called the World War II generation. Born before 1947, represents only 8% of your workforce. You can tell a lot about a generation by looking at what they went through growing up, right? He grew up really hard. Thought his name was Get Wood till he was 14 years old. I mean, this little guy had it rough. Got whoopings. Remember when you used to whoop kids? He got whoopings. This is my generation, born before 1947. I remember if you worked really hard all week long, Daddy gave you a quarter. Y'all remember that? You could go to town for a quarter. Anybody remember? You could, for a quarter, you could, on a Saturday, you could buy a Snicker. That's back when Snickers were really big. You could buy a whole Coca-Cola, and you could go to a Tom Mix movie. Anybody remember those days? That's this generation right here. Wonderful, wonderful time. What?
We got a hamburger, a Coca-Cola for a quarter.
Well, that was inflation. This is my old timer. He's all kinds of things you can say about it. This is the old generation, loyal, dependable, honest, does what he said he's going to do. He never uses an excuse, you know. If he's got a handicap, he just never blames anybody. If he's got a handicap, he just works through it. What's that story about the world's leading Bible manufacturing company? They heard that the world's leading Bible salesman was on the market. They said, "Well, go get him." He said, "Well, now, Chief, whoa. He's got an impediment. He stutters." They said, "Well, we can interview him, get him in here." So they brought this old boy. I said, "Is it true you're the world's leading Bible salesman?" He said, "Well, he said, "You do stutter, don't you?" He said, "I do. He said, "Well, how do you sell so many Bibles?" He said, "Well, I just tell them what I do, and then I just show them the Bible, and I just tell them how much it could cost, and I ask them if they want to buy it, but then you want me to read it to them." But it's kind of like marvelous, hard-working old guy, sticks with his relationships. No divorces. No divorces. I've been married to old Betty 51 years. Been living together so long we look alike, you know. I was talking to a Landstar couple not long ago. They've been married 54 years. And I asked the lady, I said, "Did you ever think about divorcing?" She said, "No, I thought about killing him." So they'll kill each other. They don't divorce each other. This is my old timer. Now, my old timer had a kid. And what do we call his kid? My baby boomer. This is my baby boomer generation here. Let me give me a baby boomer, baby boomer right here. Boomer now. Your dad's some good shit's coming. This is my baby boomer. I know that. I can't see good. This is my baby boomer. Born between 1947 and 1964, represents 44% of your workforce. This is the most powerful generation we have ever birthed in America. Why? Because they've grown up in the best times America ever had. Go back in your brains, boys, between 47 and 64, right? The world was good then, man. You could ride in the back of your pickup with your dog and no helmet. Everybody drank out of the same hose, right? He ate real bread, real sugar. Then nobody got fat because he played outside all the time. If you broke your arm, you went to the doctor, got it fixed. No lawsuit. Everybody had a nickname that hair-lipped the HR department. Nobody worried about it now. You went out for a little league, right? You made it, you giggled all day. If you didn't, you felt sorry for yourself. Realize some days you bug, some days you windshield. Some don't shine on the same dog every day. God, something doesn't make it, you know. These were the times of John Glenn and then on the moon. This was the time of all the wonderful medical miracles. This was the time women's lib, where women got on the pill and took over. And this was a wonderful time in our nation. When we look around today at those years, and so it birthed this generation, a very positive, a very optimistic generation today. In this day and time, they represent most of the CEOs and presidents in the free enterprise system in America. But a marvelous, powerful generation. They're good people. You know, I love to swear about the little old teenage girls are skinny dipping in a farmer's pond, all buck naked jumping in and out of the water. And he looked up and here comes the old farmer walking down the hill with a bucket. And the little old girls jump in the water up to the neck to the farmer, can't see anything, say, "Mr. Farmer, get away. You just came down here to spy on us." The old farmer said, "I didn't come down here to spy on y'all. I just come down here to feed the alligator." He's got a little problem, and his little problem is he had it so much better than his daddy did, and his daddy put him through college, that he feels guilty. This is your guilty generation. Remember, I was a Methodist preacher, my background's in counseling, and I know what guilt does to people. It makes them very introspective. They sit around and go, "Ooh, this was the generation of feelings." Y'all remember the Vietnam generation? Yeah. I went to Woodstock, got naked, smoked dope, you know, just here or wherever. But they got inclined in their feelings. This is the generation where he talked about authenticity and sensitivity. Talk to Daddy about that. He said, "What are you talking about?" But over here, we were a sensitive generation, guilty feeling generation. This generation had good marriages for a while until they sat around and started talking to each other about how they feel about each other. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. We have no divorces over here. All of a sudden, divorces proliferated in our country, and we had this wonderful, powerful, can-do generation that started getting screwed up families, right? Which is all right. This is part of the whole free enterprise system. So what else do I want to say about it? Just remember, he feels guilty. Then he had a kid. Who's his kid? What generation is his kid? What generation do we call it? Generation X. Y'all remember Generation X? Born between 1964 and 1980. Kind of come over here. Yeah. No, you stay over there. Yeah. The first thing that Kevin notices is that his daddy doesn't like him. The problem has nothing to do with Kevin. It's got everything to do with Daddy. Because Daddy feels guilty, and guilty people need people to like them. They need acceptance big time. And so we took over Kevin so that, because we're feeling people, we wanted Kevin to be happy. You remember the happy generation? Dr. Spock, not supposed to whoop your kid and all that? You want to vote on whether timeout works or not? So anyway, okay. And so we want to be sure little Kevin's happy. So Mama takes over little Kevin's happiness. Mama's a boomer, takes over little Kevin's happiness. So she gets the principal fired because he spanked little Kevin cut. She gets the soccer coach fired because he wouldn't let little Kevin play soccer, even though Kevin's a club-footed idiot. Doesn't matter. Little Kevin gets to be 18 years of age. Is Kevin happy? No! Who does he hate? His mother. When are we going to learn, right? We love our kids into failure, y'all. We love them so good we want them to be happy. Daddy did the same thing. Daddy gave him $100. Here, $100, kid. Oh, take it. Second time he gave it to him, oh, take it. Third time he gave it to him, is this all? And all of a sudden, you got your first entitlement generation. Let's go ahead and look at this real quick. When Granddaddy over here felt guilty, who did he blame? Himself. When Daddy felt guilty, who did he blame? Himself and his group. He's a groupie. These are the boomers. So we Americans, we truckers, he's a we guy. So he's going to blame himself. He's going to blame himself and his group. When Kevin feels guilty, who does he blame? Somebody else, right? This is the first generation that finds the source of its problems outside of itself. Very, very interesting. Is that bad or good? Not bad or good, not right or wrong. It's what's happening in your world today. I don't judge it at all. People say, well, the guy that feels guilty is better off. No, he's not better. You ought to counsel like I do. Guilt eats people alive. So I'm not all for guilt, I'm telling you that. But Kevin's over here, and he's the first generation that instead of feeling guilty, he says the problem lies outside of me, and I'm looking at it from here, and I'm going to fix the problem. So we came up with Deming's 85-15 rule. Y'all remember that rule? Mr. Deming broke the 85-15 rule in an organization, a company. If a mistake is made, it's 85% chance that that mistake is the result of a problem with the system, and it's only 15% chance it's the fault of the person who committed the mistake. Let me say it again. I know you're kind of staring at me. If a mistake is made in an organization, it's an 85% chance that that mistake is the result of a problem with the system, the operation system, let's just call it in our business, the system, and it's only a 15% chance it's the fault of the person who committed the mistake. So if you can learn to fix the system instead of the blame, you get the fear out of your organization. And life's a whole lot easier. And that's what this generation gave us. They came along and they're good systems people. This is the first latchkey generation. Mom and Dad got a divorce, Mom was working, he comes home from school. This is the first generation where Mom's not there with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. This is the latchkey generation. They're more of a loner, they're more ingrown, they're quieter, they're very high-tech. They see work totally different. Megan, you got to get up and go to school. Mama, I'm not going to go to school. Megan, you got to get up and go to school. Mama, I'm not going to go to school. The kids hate me, there's too much work. Megan, you got to get up and go to school, you're the principal. They see work very, very, they see marriage very differently. You know, there's marriage over here, the gal lived down the road, and so you got married and had kids. Over here, we got married because of feelings. We fell in love. Basically, we fell into heat, but we got married. Over here, we're not really sure. It's just really interesting. I still do weddings, and one of the deals, if I do your wedding, I want to do 4 sessions of marriage counseling before the wedding. And I told a young couple that not hard. She said, "No, Reverend Baker, we don't need any marriage counseling. We've both been married several times before." It's a wonderful generation, very powerful, but they're going to fix the system. They see, you know, the guy calls the cops in the middle of the night. He said, "There's 3 guys stealing stuff in my garage." And the cop dispatcher says, "We don't have any cars in your area." And the guy hangs up, counts to 10, calls back, and says, "Disregard my last call, I just shot him." 3 minutes later, there's 3 cop cars in the helicopter in his house. And the rest of the guys got him handcuffed, put him in a cop car, and the cop says to this guy, said, "I thought you said you shot these guys." And the guy said, "I thought you said you didn't have any cop cars." That's what he does. He's a great system thinker. He's more ingrown. He's more high-tech. And then we allow this generation to breathe. So we've got another one over here. And I've got to find me, this room doesn't have a lot of youngsters in it, does it? I mean, you're going to be getting a lot of youngsters.
Right there.
Where?
Right there.
Right there. What is your name, youngster? Come up here, I need you. Give him a hand. Millennial, great Taylor, Taylor, Sean, Nathan, all those kind of names. Let's look at his numbers. But boy, 8% of the workforce, 44% of the workforce, 33% of the workforce. Over here is 15 to 25% of the workforce. We can't get a number on whether they're working, and they can't either, so we don't know what. As I set him up here and started abusing him a little bit, let me just tell you something. I'm more excited about this generation than I've ever been about any group of people in my entire life. In fact, I have dedicated the last remaining years of my life in the trucking industry to working with these young people right here.